Oh, I got this one. Shout out to you, Susan Stone. Why are you letting your copium lead you to believe that Tim Walz was just put on the ticket for any other reason than to placate and shut up those of us on the true left? And seriously, the Green Party has been going against the big money of the Democratic Party pretty much for all of its existence. Most of Bernie's ideas come from the Green Party. That's not true. Bernie Sanders has been doing this since way before the Green Party was founded.
That's true.
And specifically Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader's a great guy, but even 18 months ago, he was talking about how he was going to do everything he could to beat Trump, and he's pivoted his tune again because he wants to be a little more relevant. And I'm just being consistent. I'm more interested in working towards getting Jill Stein as close to 5% as possible. Giving up on third parties because they haven't done anything in the recent past that is earth-shattering doesn't make any sense. It took a ton of time for civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights to take effect. And I hate to say a lot of sacrifice and even death. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying, Susie Stone. But the reality is that Jill Stein represents none of this. She represents a LARP. She represents a distraction. And none of the things that the civil rights did are things that Jill Stein is doing. Showing up every 4 years to collect signatures to run your own self for president because you can't stand the thought of the Green Party not being on the ballot everywhere when you're not moving towards 5%. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. And again, Gavin is a two-time Green Party voter. I spent every day for 4 years pushing Joe Biden to the left and giving ample time for Green Party people to come on the show. I interviewed Jill Stein just as I interviewed what's his face that's running for the Libertarian Party. I let them come on here to persuade us, but there was a huge movement of people who were desperate to see change, and the Green Party was able to suck up none of it. Okay, they have not moved closer to 5%. They have moved further away. Jill Stein in 2016 got 1.6% of the general election vote, Susie. Do you know what Ralph Nader got in 2000? He got like 2.7. Okay, what's that? A steep decline? Let's talk about 2020. You can blame COVID. 0.2%. You can pull it up. 0.2% of the eligible population to vote showed up and voted for the Green Party. I'm sorry. That's not a serious movement. 2 months isn't going to get 5% of the national electorate to vote for Jill Stein. It's not happening. As Gavin already pointed out, the people who do vote for Jill Stein do it by default because they see her name on the ballot and she's not part of the duopoly. Okay, it's not effective. People can say that they're negotiating their vote. They're holding it and withholding it. But what we've seen consistently is the Democratic Party has just written off that section of the population. They're now no longer interested in negotiating with you. They're now no longer interested in getting your vote. And they've decided to move the entire party to the right. Now, instead of saying in 80 years, the Green Party is going to get to 12% and then the Democrats are going to have to negotiate with us, I am more interested in saying, I know the reality of the situation is that Democrats are like 85% as bad as the Republicans, but they can be moved to the left. The Republicans are not going to be moved to the left. So my analysis is that me and what I want to spend my time doing is talking about how we can negotiate with the Democratic Party. There is a reason that guys like Waleed Said, who have worked tirelessly for the uncommitted movement, have done so negotiating with the Democratic Party, because to do so with the Green Party would be unserious. It would be a LARP. It would be a fantasy. It would be pageantry for a very narrow group of people online who want to celebrate them. Then we could talk about the just downright bad strategy of Jill Stein, uplifting the Revolutionary Blackout Network, having an anti-Semite like Nick Cruz be a big part of your campaign, be on Green Party literature, be on Green Party events. That's not a good look. You guys might not think you're in the business of gaining votes for the Green Party, but they have to win. Politics is about winning. Green Party's really into virtue signaling on Twitter and dunking on the Democrats, and that's not how you build a movement, because people want to see serious efforts. They don't want to see everybody who disagrees with them get called a genocide supporter. They don't want to see, oh, genocide's not a red line for you because you're not going to vote for this lady that has no chance that I have a material interest in working for because I'm getting paid by this place. Like, that's how it comes across. That's how it comes across to everybody. And so we are here to be the bearer of bad news. The Green Party has to either start from scratch and start taking itself seriously so that we can all take it seriously, or it's going to continue to LARP on Twitter. It's going to continue to become more and more of a niche movement where the only people support it are people who secretly want Trump to win because it's going to drive more clicks to their YouTube platforms, and people who have just no real actionable cause that they're trying to cheerlead for. Like, I'm sorry. I really love you, Susie Stone. You've been a listener for a long time, and I'm not trying to take this out on you. I'm just giving my heartfelt response to everybody who has sent me tons and tons of mail calling me a sellout. I tweeted this out the other day, bro. When we were getting dumped on all day for being shit-lip sellouts, you don't care about anything. I was at work for 10 hours on my feet. Okay, I don't work an office job. I don't work a cushy job. I see people come in and out of the streets every day, and I talk to them. And you know what? Anytime I've brought up the Green Party, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? It's not serious. It's not serious. So yeah, I am riding the hopium of Tim Walz because I can be actionable with that. I can make sure that people in my community show up to protect abortion rights, show up so that the people that I work with get raises, because guess what? At a place where I work, the people get a raise when the minimum wage is raised. Okay. So these are real issues to me. I'm not sitting behind my computer screen LARPing. Okay. I can see the difference between black and white and gray.
Yep, exactly. And like you said, Zach, and first of all, I did not spend 10 hours yesterday shaking martinis. So if you're gonna call anyone a sellout, direct the fire at me. I was sitting on my ass in the Cinemark movie theater. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, I did vote for the Green Party in 2016, first election I ever cast a vote in, and I also voted for Howie Hawkins in 2020. And that's 2 election cycles. That's 8 years. Maybe you want to say, well, you should spend your entire life voting for Green Party candidates, hoping that they get more and more of a percent and slowly build. You need to spend 75 years. That's how long it takes to build them. Okay, whatever. You can tell me that I have a short attention span and that 8 years is nothing. It's just a blip. But guess what? In those 8 years, I've watched the Green Party take not 1 or 2 steps backwards, but massive steps backwards. This Jill Stein ticket, the 2024 Green Party campaign, is infinitely more embarrassing than the 2016 Green Party campaign. Again, 8 years ago, guys, it was infinitely more serious. And also, as I said, if I actually thought the Green Party could get to 5%, that would be one thing, Susie. You're saying that you want the Green Party to get to 5%. I feel you. That's a important benchmark. And I think that if I had any actual serious, if I seriously thought the Green Party had a chance of getting to 5%, I would actually seriously consider voting them, because I think that does build the movement. However, we had Jason Call, Jill Stein's campaign manager, on our show about 6 months ago when he became her campaign manager. And I was very honest with Jason, someone who's a friend of the show, someone who Zach and I have a good relationship with. I asked him very simply, I said, hey man, in 2016, the Green Party got over 1%. In 2020, they took a step backwards. They got less than 1%. How are you guys going to change strategy in this election cycle to make sure that the Green Party takes a step forward, not another step back? How are you going to make sure that the Green Party actually becomes somewhat more serious this time around? And to be honest, I did not get a compelling answer, guys. And I said that after the interview. I was honest about it on air. You guys have watched in real time as my opinion of the modern day third party movement has evolved. Right? This is not something new. Zach and I have been talking about this stuff for months and months now, as we've watched the third party movement fall apart in front of us. So yeah, we've had the Green Party folks on our show. We've had Jason Call on our show, who, by the way, worked for a Democrat too, Marianne Williamson, when that was convenient. It's clearly something that's within their strategic realm of possibility as well. And again, we've had Jill Stein on, we've had Cornel West on. We've had not Cornel West. We've had Jason Call on. We've had Jill Stein on. We've taken them seriously. We've given them respect. But ultimately, when I ask them, what's going to be different this time? How are you actually going to achieve what you claim is your goal? How are you going to change your strategy to get a different result? It's always just the same bullshit, guys. It's always just the same, 5 to 10 cliches over and over and over again. You tune into any Green Party live stream, any third party live stream or virtual rally or whatever you want to call it. It's always the same tired, boring shit, the same talking points, the same beating you over the head. And it's just nothing new. There's nothing fresh, and they need to change strategy if they're ever going to be taken seriously. Until that happens, I'm not going to take them seriously.
Yep. So anyway, and that was really long-winded. Gavin and I have a lot of emotion built up in this. This is something we do every day, and it's frustrating for us that people will just write off all of our opinions like, oh, you're a sellout. Oh, you've joined the shit lib movement. Like, what do you think we're doing? We are sitting in our own room, our bedroom in Kansas City, Missouri, and we interact with real people every single day because we live in a real town, okay? And we're surrounded by our real friends. And I think that is another thing that left has to understand. The Bernie era is over, so our ideas are not mainstream anymore. We lost bad. We got kicked in the nuts, okay? And now we're in tatters, and we have to rebuild. And do you know what you can't do when you're rebuilding? Act like you're on top, okay? So now we're building a foundation again. We're meeting people where they are, and we're dragging them back over to our side because that's the role of a leftist, okay? it's not the 60s anymore. We're not taking off our clothes and putting flowers in people's guns, right? We're not, doing whatever. We're in the 70s now, in the early 80s, and it's the hard work again, and it's the thankless work again. And you also say they will make it look like they're doing something, but only what the donors will allow. It will be crumbs again. 100. You're not saying anything that's not wrong, right? And honestly, why are you to the right of a 71 independent? Like, that's what you have to not understand, Susie. It's like I could shout on the top of my lungs that I'm a anarcho-communist, baby, and I could come out here and say nothing's good enough, nothing's good enough, nothing's good enough, and then one day I'll realize, oh my gosh, all my audience is listening to Jimmy Dore, and all my audience is just tuned out or sympathetic to the right wing. And instead, what I want to do is mobilize people to action, mobilize people to make a difference. And so this time around, I'm going to talk about how, yeah, unfortunately, Kamala Harris is the lesser evil. You don't have to vote for her, but you don't really have an option to argue that she's not the lesser evil. You could say, I'm tired of lesser evils. I'll say me too. Okay. And then I'll talk about how in my local level in Kansas City and in the state of Missouri, here's how I'm trying to be actionable. Here's how you could be actionable in your state. And here's how what our options are at the national level. That's all I can do on my podcast, because me coming out here, Susie, and being like, all of you guys vote, donate your money to Jill Stein, who's not going to get anywhere. Like, that feels dishonest and wrong to me.
Yeah. Also, as far as the Tim Walz thing go, I'm again, with all due respect to you, Susie, really appreciate the support, and I know you're a longtime listener. But I don't like being told that I'm not allowed to be excited about something. Like, I do think it was meaningful that Tim Walz got picked over Josh Shapiro or Mark Kelly or one of these other corporate stooges. Tim Walz is the best governor in the country. He's most likely, arguably, the most progressive governor in the country. He has policies that are very much similar to Bernie Sanders. In America, we're not used to getting much of anything as a left. All the vice presidential picks of my lifetime have been dog shit. John Edwards. Fucking, are you kidding me? Tim Kaine. I mean, not even, talking about the Republicans. Look at the Democrats and who they've picked. Joe Biden. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Tim Walz is actually something to be excited about. He'll be a heartbeat away from the presidency if Kamala wins. Again, we're used to being spit in the face. Tim Walz was actually something worth being a little bit optimistic about. And I'm not going to hide that just in order to serve my own sense of virtue. And I'm the leftist in the world, and I refuse to ever give the Democrats credit no matter what. No, Tim Walz was a good pick. He was a good pick. I'm excited about him. I hope that it signals a, slightly more positive economic future for the Democratic Party, et cetera, et cetera. We could talk about all of that. But yeah, I'm going to be honest about that. We have a political show. I'm not just going to be like Mr. Black Pill Doomer and come out here and say, this is just them trying to sheep herd us into the left. Like, no, this is America. Again, I'm sorry, but Shama Sawant is not going to be elected the president. Rashida Tlaib is not going to be elected the president. Tim Walz is about as close to a freaking progressive leftist as we're probably ever going to get, a heartbeat away from the White House. So yeah, I'm going to celebrate that.